presentation of Financial Crisis Recovery.
Foreclosure, short sales, bankruptcy, credit card debt, job loss, depreciating home values, money management. Peace of mind when it comes to your finances seems completely out of reach under current conditions, but there is a way to achieve it. For the next 60 minutes, you're going to find out how to cover your assets. Cover your assets.
On this, I am not listed whatsoever.
Great question, Larry. Okay, so if your wife begins to miss a payment, strategic default, we'll call it in this case, and I don't know, it sounds like it could actually be imminent with all the other issues that you've described, your credit will not be affected at all. Your credit will not be affected in any way if you are not on the promissory note to repay that debt. Being married does not commingle your credit and finances. Agreeing to be a guarantor on that loan, which is the promissory note to repay the debt, that's the thing that ties you together. So if your wife begins to miss a payment, not going to affect your credit. Now, one of the things that you would want to do is you would want to clearly separate your banking and your credit before you begin to do that, because once you have to offer up information to the bank, remember, if your credit and your money, meaning your banking, are together, they're going to take into consideration a household income. However, if she puts forth simply her information and her banking only, they will only be able to use her banking because you haven't commingled them, and then they don't have that information. They can't ask for it because, remember, you're not a guarantor. But if you give it to them unwittingly by having your banking commingled and all of your income and her income going into the same bank account, it can be problematic. Once she misses a payment, is her credit going to be beaten up, and is she going to be kind of shot in the foot in terms of buying or refinancing a home for the next year to 2 years? Yes, she will be. And in fact, she should actually expect to wait for 3 years. But, you know, in terms of getting help for a modification and in terms of divesting herself of this home, if she believes that she's going to do that without missing a payment, I would say good luck, because I highly doubt it. Has the bank in any way, Larry, told you that they're not going to consider helping you until you've actually missed a payment yet? Have they actually done that yet?
They have not told us that. We've asked several times because we've heard other people say they would never deal with us until we missed a payment, which is something we don't want to do. We're trying to get ahead of this thing before we have a problem.
And you are going to find that to be an enormously uphill battle. The idea that, look, we've been good people in the past, you've made lots of money on us, and you should want to work with us, let me tell you what, you can just forget all that, because it ain't going to happen. Mm-hmm. For the most part, remember this, the bank has a performing loan. They are entirely happy with this proposition. And the fact that you may be bleeding yourself dry in an effort to make the payment is not the bank's problem. Your wife agreed to repay the loan, and the fact that she's got to do that, couldn't care less about it. So for as long as you continue to perform on this loan, and remember the number and the multitudes of non-performing loans that the bank is having to deal with, until you have actually entered the emergency room, triage, think about it this way. We're looking at people who are going to be entering into differing levels of need. Until you've actually missed a payment, they don't even perceive that you have a need. And I bet Jason can agree with me. We've seen people request short sales, having not missed a payment, and the short sale closing date is 30, 60 days out. The bank will literally not even respond to the purchase agreement. They will just act as though they've not even gotten it when you continue to perform on the loan. So trying to do these things without missing a payment, good luck. But what you do need to recognize, Larry, is that your wife needs to lock herself down, be prepared to not need financing, and then to be able to operate under your credit for the next 2 to 3 years. And if you do that properly, look, you may not miss a beat. And the last and most important thing to know about this is that if she is concerned that she's had fabulous credit her whole life and now she's doomed to a life of bad credit, that's nonsense. Nothing as it relates to credit cannot be overcome. You can overcome it, and generally within 2 to 3 years, you can have a reasonably good credit score and be back in good shape and even be positioned to buy a home in that period of time.
Can you protect your assets by putting them in IRAs or a so-called 401k?
Yes. Well, this is the name of the show is Cover Your Assets, Larry. Hey. Yeah, you can do that, but it has to be very strategic. It has to be done very strategically. One of the most important things you need to know is that imagine if you're trying to negotiate with a bank who has a deficiency of $50,000, meaning that you owe the bank $50,000 more than what the home will sell for. And they ask you for the last 2 months' worth of your bank statements, and last month, you go back, you give it to them. Now, today, you have no money in your savings account, but last month, you just removed $30,000 out of your savings account. And oh, by the way, it shows that on your bank statements that you just gave them in the last 2 months. And oh, by the way, you also tried to get a loan modification 4 months before that also showed that you had $30,000 in savings. And you couldn't understand why you didn't get the modification and you got denied. And now you're asking them to negotiate on a $50,000 deficiency for 10 cents on the dollar, and they saw that you just removed $30,000 in cash out of your savings account that you put into your retirement account. How well do you think that's going to go over with the bank, and how successful do you think you're going to be in getting any type of short sale deficiency removed or negotiated at a reasonable number?
I understand.
You get my point, right? You do get my point. So that's why positioning and strategically defaulting is so vitally important, and knowing exactly how you'll be looked at and the information that the bank is going to utilize to look at you very carefully and consider whether they're going to negotiate for that 10, 20, 30% of the deficiency so you can walk away with your life. That is very much a strategic plan. And quite frankly, that's exactly what I do for a living. So if you'd be interested in coming in for a consultation, by all means, give us a call. My phone number is 763-559-3800, and you can go to the CYA21 website and just, shoot us an email or something, and you can get that over. We'll send you everything you need to know, but hopefully this has been of help to you, Larry.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Larry. We'll move on. All right. Thanks a lot, Larry. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about how the bank is going to, what information is gathered and what information is available to you to check you out. So before they decide, are they going to negotiate on a deficiency for 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%? Are they going to tell you to ride out on the horse you rode in on because they want 100 cents on every dollar and they are not going to negotiate on $1 you're paying at all? Well, all of that is going to have to do with how you'll be perceived. When we come back, we're going to talk about the information that you may not be aware of that the bank is going to use to determine whether they will or will not negotiate with you. And we are back. So in studio, Jason Walgrave with RE/MAX Professionals. Jason Walgrave, Minnesota home team, got the radio show on before us, and he's good enough to always sit in with me. And Jason is a sponsor of our show, we of his, and we are a team. We work together, and I'm so thankful to have Jason here. So, Jason, do you think most people have a perception of what the bank has as tools at its disposal to check people out? Do you think people know that?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I think that, one of the things that comes up most that you and I deal with a lot is people will come in and they'll say, I've been working on loan modification for the last 3 years, and I've sent the package to the bank 6 times. Does that help them?
Yeah, does that help them? Well, just imagine this. 97% of all loan modifications are going to be turned down. And in the time that you've been attempting to get a loan modification, haven't you been ongoingly providing them with updated financial information, where you work, your personal financial statement, all of your assets, your income, everything? You've been providing them with all of that updated information. So if you're in the less than 3% who gets a loan modification, hallelujah. But if you're in the 97+% who doesn't, didn't you just give the bank all the ammunition they need to pursue you on the deficient debt because you've been trying to get a loan modification desperately? You gave them all your updated information, and now they know exactly how to come after you with both barrels. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. again, do people take that into consideration? No, they just want help. They just want a lower payment. And part of the issue also with loan modifications is that people also tend to believe that if their interest rate is seemingly high in today's market, and quite frankly, any interest rate of the past is going to seem high in comparison to 3.75% interest rate, or 3.5, as Mike was so eager and willing to guarantee will last through the weekend. What a stretch. But look, you got a 6% interest rate. I guess even that interest rate is going to look excessive in light of that. However, remember this. From the bank's perspective, if your ratios show that you can afford to make that payment, they're not modifying loans to a lower interest rate because they're good guys and they just want to help you. They're lowering your interest rate because the ratio doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So if you take your current outstanding gross income, say $65,000 per year, you take that times 0.31, 31% of your gross income, and then you take that number and you divide it by 12. So let's take 60.